Hello everyone, my name is Amelya. In today's video, we are going to talk about motivation. Here, as you can see in the title, we are also going to talk about why should we motivate people, as well as how to motivate them. So, taking no longer time, let's get into it. So, what is motivation? Many people talk about motivation, but do we know what is motivation actually? Basically, motivation is a reason for someone to do something, a process to guide and maintain goal-oriented behavior. Motivation is what causes someone to do a peculiar thing, like chasing a kite or something bigger like building a corporation. Each individual's motivation is different. It is influenced by two things. The first is extrinsic motivation, or outside forces. This force is caused by something outside ourselves, like our environment, culture, or people. Such example, we could work because our lack of finance motivates us to work and earn salary. The second is intrinsic motivation or internal force. This force is caused by something from inside ourselves, like our needs, dreams, or wills. Such example, we go to sleep because our body needs a rest, and this tiredness is what motivates us to sleep. Now, before I speak too far about this, you should know that motivation never picks side. Motivation is free and untangled to any human intention. So it doesn't matter whether a motivation makes someone to do something good or bad, because motivation only explains the reason someone do an action, and it doesn't explain how someone follows it. So here what we're going to discuss is about the different way people interpret their motivation. So we differ motivation into two versions, good motivation and bad motivation. Good motivation is when a motivation changes someone into a better person. As the example, someone who studies to have bright future. Here the motivation is have bright future, and this motivation make the person to study, which then turn this person to a better person. On the other hand, bad motivation is when a motivation changes someone into his bad person. The example is someone who steals to get money. Here, the motivation is get money. This motivation is actually good, but because the person follows the motivation through bad action, this motivation turns that person to a bad person. Thereby, we should and always have to maintain our good motivation to ourselves. By doing this, we can always seek for good way to follow our motivation and achieve our goals and eventually change ourselves to be better. Next thing we have to peel. Who needs good motivation? Basically everyone. People need good motivation to reach what they want. However, there are specific people who need good motivation the most. Here I mention three. First is someone who is in low mood. Whoever we are, there will be a point where we feel so down and we do not know what to do. When someone is at his weakest point, negative thoughts will most likely to appear and give strong radiation to that person. In long meaning, that person is vulnerable to the exposure of bad thoughts that can attract bad action and eventually lead that person to his own downfall. Here is the point where motivation is needed to save him from bad thoughts. Second is someone who struggles through hard time. This can be anything from disease to disaster, including this pandemic that is infecting whole world and millions of lives. People need tough heart to overcome these struggles, and those who cannot endure it will collapse. Motivation is needed to keep their spirit alive through this hard time. Third is someone who chases his dream. No matter whether it's a big dream or just a scatter of unconscious vision, dream is a goal achievement for almost everyone, especially if they can make it come true by their own hard work. However, some people might think their dream is too impossible to be reached, and instead working hard on it, they toss their dream away to trash bin. Motivation can help them to get focused on their dream and help them get through their way to achieve it. Next thing, we might also vividly know the reason we motivate people. Why should we motivate them? Right? We do not even know what obstacle they're facing. We do not know how they feel in their current situation, while ourselves have never been in such a situation before. Well, that is where the fault lies. Here we see that it doesn't matter whether we know what would be the best solution for that person's problem, or whether we have no idea what to say about it. We are not real motivators, and we know it. However, we still can help them by our support. Even if it's just a bit, our support can help to lift that person up. When you motivate someone or give him support, indirectly that person will like you more. It is not because your motivation is amazing and inspire him to keep on. No, but it's because he thinks that you care about him. Sometimes people do not care about someone's problem, and this is bad because that person might think that he has no one to share the emotion. By giving them motivation, although your motivation might be a bit lame to even be called as motivation, but your attention to that person gives a sign that you care about that person, and caring others, it simply makes people like you more. Another reason why should you motivate people is by motivating people you can attract good things to your life. How come? Well, by knowing people's problem, you are not only becoming a good person to talk to, but also becoming wiser and know that the world is not entirely black and white. Knowing people's problem can give you examples of such experience that you will be able to overcome it one day when you face the same problem. Another thing is, you also learn to think first before you speak. By doing this, not only you can be careful through each step you're taking, but also can avoid bad things and risks that possibly can happen to you. By motivating people, you can also be one of the reasons of someone's success. If you didn't tell that person that he can open a business, maybe he would never be a businessman just like what he is now. Motivation might not work alone for someone's success, but motivation is actually the key for it. It is a good thing that your words can help someone to reach his dream. You will also be surrounded by successful people who in return will gladly help you to reach your own success as well. Motivation is a good thing to be done. We might cannot deeply understand of someone's emotion or problems. However, there is no fault, just try to. Praising their feeling is one of the good things we can do to help others. Still, we need to know the right way to motivate someone. It is not because all words fit motivating sentences. The first and the most basic way we motivate people is by listening to them. But shouldn't we say something to motivate them? Why should we shut our mouth? Well, ask this. How will you figure out someone's problem if you do not let them to explain it? Listening is the best and the most essential thing to motivate someone. Although we might do not know what can be the best solution for that someone's obstacle, we might at least can lend an ear to hear their voice. It is a noble thing to be a hearer. Just like what we have discussed, give someone attention means we care about him. And it is already a good start to be a good friend by listening to them. The next thing is we should use uplifting or encouraging words. For some people, they think that to make someone's inner spirit sparks out, they have to scold him or make him feel bad about his life so he will change. Although some people might think this is correct, well actually it is not. This is not a good way to motivate someone. Make someone feel bad is not the best way, and even never be one of good way to change someone. Well, because this can open risks that they will even feel worse than before. Instead, uplifting and encouraging words can make people feel better and give them hope that there's still a chance for them to change. Next up is appreciate their decision or hard work. It is good to tell them that they have done great. We do not know what have they gone through before. They might took the wrong step or they're tired to keep their vision clear. Maybe they only did less hard work and whatever they have done to achieve their result. While giving them applause of their work can make them confident and tell them that it is always okay that their way to success is full of obstacles. I mean, it's just part of life. The other thing is offering our help. Sometimes it is so hard to walk on our own. Lending a hand to those who face hard situations can help that person to rise up from his current problem. Although our help might not be that much, but let them know that we are always around can make them feel safe and let them know that they do not walk alone. Now, we know that motivating someone can be done by only doing simple things. However, there are also several things that is not suitable to be spoken if we want to motivate someone. We usually call this as toxic motivation, where the motivation doesn't make a person rise up, but instead make a person even feel worse. So first thing to avoid is comparing someone with someone else. Well, each individual is different. Even twins have their own personality. Here's the example of comparing a person with another. He can be a great man because he ignores his haters. You should be like him. Here we see, looking for an example of someone who could overcome the same problem was meant to be good. But one thing we might forgot was the person's personality we're talking to is different with someone that was mentioned as the example. This then become a wrong thing because we compare a total different personality. Besides this, motivate someone by comparing them with another might not be a wise thing because, well, it feels so bad that someone has to compare us with another, just like when our parents compare us with the neighbor kids. Next thing we should not say while motivating people is using if I were you. Similar to the previous point, we compare people's personality, each individual differently possessed. Just look at the example. If I were you, I would take the risk instead of play safe. Here again, we compare our personality to that person. There's a safe way to state if I were your suggestion. First thing is consider the condition that person is currently in, then consider the person's personality and their ability before we can make up the possible solution for that person's problem. Next thing to avoid is portraying someone else's success. How come portraying someone else's success is a toxic motivation? Well, let's read the example. If she can overcome her problems, so can you. Portraying someone's successfulness is not a toxic thing, it is a spirit charger. Well, yes, but for some others, no. Sometimes people find out that looking at someone else's success become a boomerang for them, instead of fuel to make their spirit on fire. The base reason is just like the same to previous points. However, another thing that caused this also the way that person achieved their success. Some people might think that, well, his way to achieve his goal is super different from the way I prefer. Or some can also think that his way will not work for me as myself is not that type of person. It probably happens for some people. But still, the best option is to let people go through their own way to be successful, rather to give them examples of someone's success and become followers. Alright, so now we know why and how we motivate people. Now what will change after? First of all, by motivating people, we can change someone's life. The right motivation can help and lead that person to change his fate and have a better life to live. Another thing, more people will listen to wider our point of view towards them. We learn to see the world through a lot of point of views. These can enlarge our vision towards people's life. Other thing that will change is our way of thinking. We might used to think that everyone is the same. And after we hear people's stories, we then can know that not all persons are the same. Instead, they're all unique on their own way. These can also make us wiser and learn to say things based on our clear thoughts. And yes, after a long talk about motivation and motivating people, now let's ask this question. What makes people need motivation? Motivation comes from inside, right? So why do people need motivation from others? Don't they can find their own motivation from their inner mind? Well, motivation indeed comes from inside. However, sometimes our thought is not as strong as it sounds like. We can think that we can, let's say, complete our task from our teacher before the due date. Well, telling that we can is easier than proving that we can. This is a basic explanation about motivation. Just like based on this example, this is when we need someone to motivate us to complete our task. Yes, in short, someone cannot simply telling himself and encouraging motivation and the rest of him will complete it instantly. No. But instead, we as other people can help him by creating an environment where he then can figure out what thing that can motivate him the most and eventually find his motivation for himself. Well, all have been spoken for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy it. Well, bye everyone, stay safe and see you later.